Hello, Meg Miller, an Adult Services Librarian here at Pflugerville Public Library, bringing you a Crafty at Home tutorial video. And for this month's project, we're going to be making some miniature books. And for those folks who registered with us to come and pick up a material supply kit, the bag that you're going to get this month is a little plastic bag. So let's take a look at what you get inside the bag. Alright, inside our material supply kits for this craft, you'll get printed on cardstock 4 book covers, 4 of the pre-cut interior pages, 4 small pieces of mull pre-cut, and 4 sets of end papers pre-cut. Additionally, we're including 2 pieces of metallic floss in case you want to make a couple of your mini books into ornaments. You'll have your glue stick that we're going to use to put this project together, and a binder clip that you'll be able to use to hold that all together as your glue dries. And in lieu of a bone folder that someone might use in making books, we've included a craft stick that we'll be able to use to help us make our folds. Additionally to the kit materials, as you can see, these aren't pre-cut, so hopefully you'll be able to grab a pair of scissors that we can use to cut those book covers out and make any trims to other pieces that we might need. And we'll also suggest that you grab some pieces of scrap paper that you can use for what's called gluing out when we glue our end papers and our covers on, and we want to make sure that we get glue all the way to the edges but not on the front of our paper. So we've got all of our supplies. Let's go ahead and get started. So I've pulled out the supplies for making one of these miniature books. I've got one of our sheets of paper for the text block, one piece of the floss, I've cut out one of the book covers, and I have one set of end papers, so 2 with the same, and then one of our little pieces of mull there, which is really hard to see on this table. I've got my craft stick for using as a bone folder, my glue, and my binder clip, and then one of the pieces of waste paper that I'll use when we start gluing. So in order to fit in the kit, I did fold these just once in half. So we're going to start making some additional folds. So mountains and valleys are kind of how we think of our folds. When it's down, it's a valley. When we go the other way and it pops up, a mountain. So for this, we're going to be making a bunch of valleys. So I'm going to take one end of my paper and fold it right into the middle. Stopping there, I can use my finger, and then with the craft stick I'm just going to start in the middle, push down to the outside, and then the same. And I'm going to flip that over and do it on the other side. Bring my one end into the middle, make sure I'm pretty straight on. These sheets are 1.5 inches wide and 15 inches long. A metal ruler is about this width, so if you were trying to remake more supplies to make this craft, you could use a metal ruler if you had one. So now I've got a few valleys there. I'm going to do the same thing with this end, right to the very first fold that I just made. Use my craft stick to make that fold very tight, and then flip to the other side and do the same thing. I'm going to fold my end to that first fold and then get that crease going. So now we have a few, and we need to make some valleys here. The easiest way, the way we were shown to do this, is I'm going to flip my middle around, and I'm going to go ahead and bring this first fold here to that middle fold. So this is where it used to be. Flipping it around and doing it like this will help with the ultimate accordion fold. As we go along, it really helps each of the pages stack on top. In my little quick example here, I did just fold accordion as you would kind of think to, where you go back and then the other way and then back and then the other way. But it's tough to make sure that each of your folds are uniform width, and This way makes it stack up a little bit better. So I've done that final fold here on one side. Now I need to do it on the other. So I've got a mountain and a mountain in the middle, and I'm going to bring those together. And then I'm going to make my crease there. And I can make that a little bit crisper. So now we have all of these folds, but we need to get down another one. So we're going to take each of our small pieces. I'm going to take my edge and bring it to my mountain and tighten that down. And again, using the craft stick to go ahead and do that. So now I've got a mountain here and a mountain there, and I'm going to bring these two together. The paper that I purchased for this craft is a little bit heavier weight than what I made when I was learning this one. You could do something like this with just regular weight copy paper. You'd want like an 11 by 17 size so that you are getting the 15-inch cut that you need. So I'm just going to continue my mountain to my mountain all the way through, making sure I'm getting the right spacing. That'll help as it goes along. So again, mountain to mountain. I can kind of start this crease with my fingers and then come back with the craft stick. Just a couple more left. Mountain to mountain. Crease it. Careful with these craft sticks, they're not super strong, so the likelihood of them breaking is there. So I've got my accordion just to make sure I'm doing the right edges. I take these two, bring them together. And crease. And then I have my one final edge. This one will be easier. I can just bring it down to the very end. And crease with my finger. And accordion. So there we go, and you'll see you have two single sheets. Those are going to be your ends. Oops, my accordion doesn't want to go back together. And the center will be your text block. So it's called, although this paper doesn't have any text, so if you write really small, you'll be able to write something in there, or you could draw something, or if you got stamps or stickers, something you'd like to put in there. So the two single sheets on the outside and the middle, this will be the foredge, the front edge of your book, with the two end sheets up. This will be your spine. If you want to mark that, you can just do a pen or a pencil. This will actually be under the spine, so you won't actually see that, just to kind of give a visual marker that this is the outside edge of your little text block. So you can see we got that guy there. He's ready to go. So I want to add some end papers to it. Got my two pieces of end papers here. I'm just going to go ahead and fold those together and in half. These are also 1.5 inches wide and then are 2 inches long. So I've got my two end sheets here and my paper here. I need to make sure that my folded side of the end paper and the folded corner of my text block match up. So there's that. End paper there. And you could have extra, you want to make the end paper match to the spine when we glue it on. you're gonna have some extra in the front that we can trim off later. So to get ready to glue that, I'm gonna need one of my waste paper sheets and my glue stick. Because I only really want glue on one side, I'm gonna put my paper in between the glue out sheet here. That way I know I won't get any on the other side just yet. And so I'm just gonna kind of start from the middle and go towards the outside with this purple glue stick that dries clear. It's great because you can actually see whether you're getting coverage on your paper or whether you're missing some spots. That's the second one. A little bit of glue on my table. Make sure to wipe that up so that I don't put my finished book down into glue anywhere. Alright, so now both of my end papers have glue on them. Squeeze my text block together here, and remember we've marked our spine there, and I want the fold of this end paper to match up to the fold of the spine. Like I said, you'll have some extra on the front that you can trim off later. Grab the second one, hold it by the non-glue side so I don't get any glue where I don't want it. Place that other guy down. And matching up. Making sure I'm kind of straight on the text block as well. Right away, the glue has got a little bit of give, so you'll be able to move around some if you need to. There we go. All right. So there is my cool end paper into my text block to a final cool end paper. So now we're going to be ready for our little piece of mull here and our binder clip. So I'm going to take this text block and I'm going to put them in the clip, making sure that I have enough room, probably a ½ inch maybe, along the top so that I can put my little book together. Okay, so again, using our glue stick, you can use white glue for a project like this, especially if you size up the dimensions that are listed to make something a little bit bigger. If you get too much bigger, the glue stick really isn't going to be a great way to do this. So making sure that I get all the way down into each of the grooves of the spine pages so that basically what I see is purple, and I'm going to go along the outside edge as well. Alright, some glue on each side. Take my little mull sheet here, put it right over the center, and I'm going to push that down in there so that it gets in the glue, and wrap it around the side so that it gets into the glue along the edge. Using my fingers so I don't get glue on things that I will need to use again for paper later. If it wants to keep coming up and you don't mind getting your fingers a little gluey, you can definitely go along the outside. Just gonna get some glue off the glue stick with my finger. Oop. And come right along there. So it's definitely stuck on there, completely under the spine. Oop. And as with the end papers, you've got a little bit of time to make moves if you need to. Alright, so our mull is on there. We're going to go ahead and give that a few minutes to dry in before we put our cover on. So we can set this aside for a moment. Make sure I'm not leaving glue along the ends here. While it's purple, it's really easy to see. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of set this tilted on its little corner and let that dry for a little bit. So for our cover, you've got 4 options. You can go ahead and cut these out. Originally these were purchased on Etsy, just miniaturized versions of some really old books, so they got some cool covers. You don't want to do an exacting fold. We're going to bring our corners together and we're just going to kind of do a gentle creasing so that we know where our center is. All right. And if this is something, for this one example, I'm going to go ahead and put it as if it were an ornament. This is something you could make for friends and family for Christmas, or if you just like having little books hanging around, you could do that as well. So right in the center of our spine, again, I'm going to use my glue out paper, and my scrap paper here. Just going to put some glue right in the center. There we are. Bringing one side of my floss, bringing it on there. One of the things you want to definitely make sure is that which side of your book is up. So this one has a face and the deer on it, so I know that that top is this way, and so I need to make sure I'm gluing my thread in with the loop above. A couple of the covers really kind of don't matter, but for this one in particular it does. So I'm just going to glue the other piece of string right next to it, and there we have our little loop, and we are pretty close to ready to put in our text block. You are going to want to give this a little bit longer to dry. For purposes of the video, I'm going to go ahead and pull it out and trim down my end papers here. So I can see on this very first one, I've got just a smidge of extra paper, and I'm going to go ahead and trim that down. I'm only trimming one side. I'm leaving this outer edge of end paper so that I can gauge that once I put it into my cover. But for the page that's attached to the white paper text block, I am going to trim that down so it's the size of the paper itself. I will say, for me, it is a very difficult thing to cut straight lines for the most part. I seem to have trouble with that. I'm also losing my mull a little bit more, but as I said, if you make sure you let yours dry before you begin this piece of the process, you shouldn't have that kind of trouble. All right, so now my center is ready to go. Again, because I don't have any text on the inside, it doesn't really matter which side is the top and which side is the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and get it put in here. So I'm going to use a new piece of paper that I haven't already glued on, so I make sure I don't get any glue on my end papers. And I'm going to do it again where I stick it over the paper so that I'm making sure I'm not getting glue on pieces that I don't want glue. And I'm going to glue out. So I'm going to start kind of at the center and work my way outward. Getting some to the edge of the spine, but I don't really need to go onto the spine. Alright. Grab the part that does not have glue on it. Move my glue paper out of the way so I know I don't use it. With the ornament, you do have the ability to know which way is the top right off the bat. So I'm going to place my cover end paper, my first end paper, onto the cover of the book, trying as much as I can to leave a duplicate amount around the edges. Really, I think actually I'm going to trim this end paper down a little bit. I'm not leaving myself enough white space there at the end. So let's trim that outer end paper down so that they both match up. All right. And since I had just laid it down, I had time to move to where the glue wasn't set. And I can straighten this out some. Alright, there's that first side in. Use my craft stick or my bone folder to really set that in there. And then I'm going to do the back. So, opposite side of my paper, making sure I don't get glue where I don't want it. And let's glue this side out. Center out. If you are interested in more advanced book techniques, I definitely recommend the Austin Book Art Center. Their classes were wonderful, and they are just a great local resource for this kind of thing. Okay, so I'm going to bring this end paper down, putting myself in where I want there. And then closing my book. Using my fingers, I can push down. I can also use the craft stick bone folder to burnish that in there gently to make sure that glue all goes down. For our spine, we didn't really fold it too much, so at this point I can use, again, the craft stick to kind of push that down and burnish that. You'll have the added benefit of getting that really into the mold that's in there with the glue, as well as getting kind of a more bookish look to your spine. So there I have one mini book ornament. Or if I had decided, I could have just made a mini book. And on a mini bookcase, you could have a whole collection, a whole mini library. Or a really cool way to decorate your Christmas tree coming up. Write some Christmas wishes or gift ideas or all kinds of fun stuff in your miniature book. We hope you enjoyed this craft, and we look forward to the next time. Thanks so much for watching.